Hey everybody, we are on day 21 of our Bible in a Year plan. We're reading Exodus 10, 11, and 12. Apologies if I sound a little nasally or anything like that. Currently battling some sickness in our house. Fairly confident I have influenza A, and I'm trying to get some of these recorded before it hits too hard. So prayers appreciated. Even though this, by the time you watch this, I'm probably already past it, but you can always use extra prayer. So, if I'm going kind of quickly, it's because this is the second time I'm recording this. I went through the whole thing, and my mic, for some reason, didn't pick up any of it, so we do it again. So, we are on Exodus 10, starting off. We are reading out of the Christian Standard Bible. If you want to follow along, if you have a physical one, or you can look online, either will work. So, without any further ado, we are in Exodus 10. Okay. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his officials, so that I may do these miraculous signs of mine among them." Now, I want to stop here real quick because there are some people who would take this to kind of support a predestination type view. Now, that's why I pointed out, I think it was yesterday, the day before, that it said Pharaoh hardened his own heart first. So I think the way I read this is that God pushed Pharaoh, yes, but it was in the direction Pharaoh was already going, and that Pharaoh was going to go, and God's doing it for a purpose to fit a certain timeline. We'll see coming up here. There are several things that happen, and so even though it may seem harsh that God pushed Pharaoh to do this so that these things happen, it also could be Pharaoh was going to do this already, and God hardened Pharaoh's heart to push it and escalate it to get it to like the tipping point sooner, to even possibly spare Egyptian lives. So obviously that's my interpretation. Someone who disagrees, I actually have a video to be coming out. Guy Vaz is on. I interviewed him. We talk a little bit about this, but that's an issue. That's a secondary issue. He is Reformed. Guy is, and I have no issues. We lock arms. We do ministry together. We talk a lot. It's not something that puts you outside the camp. So we will continue. Verse 2, "And so that you may tell your son and grandson how severely I dealt with the Egyptians and performed miraculous signs among them, and you will know that I am the Lord." So Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh and told him, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go, that they may worship me. But if you refuse to let my people go, then tomorrow I will bring locusts into your territory. They will cover the surface of the land so that no one will be able to see the land. They will eat the remainder left to you that escaped the hail. They will eat every tree you have growing in the fields. They will fill your houses, all the officials' houses, and the houses of all the Egyptians. Something your fathers and grandfathers never saw since the time they occupied the land until today." Then he turned and left Pharaoh's presence. Pharaoh's officials asked him, "How long must this man be a snare to us? Let the men go so that they may worship the Lord their God. Don't you realize yet that Egypt is devastated?" So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. "Go worship the Lord your God," Pharaoh said. "But exactly who will be going?" Moses replied, "We will go with our young and with our old. We will go with our sons and with our daughters, and our flocks and our herds, because we must hold the Lord's festival." He said to them, "The Lord would have to be with you if I would ever let you and your families go. Look out, you're heading for trouble. No go, just able-bodied men. Worship the Lord, since that's what you want." And they were driven from Pharaoh's presence. The Lord then said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt, and the locusts will come over it and eat every plant in the land, everything that the hail left." So Moses stretched out his staff over the land of Egypt, and the Lord sent an east wind over the land and all that day and through that night. By morning, the east wind had brought the locust. The locust went up over the entire land of Egypt and settled on the whole territory of Egypt. Never before had there been such a large number of locusts, and there will never will be again. They covered the surface of the whole earth, a whole land, so that the land was black, and they consumed all the plants on the ground and all the fruit in the trees that the hail had left. Nothing green was left on the trees or the plants in the field throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh urgently sent for Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Please forgive my sin once more and make an appeal to the Lord your God so that he will just take this death from me. Moses left Pharaoh's presence and appealed to the Lord. Then the Lord changed the wind to a strong west wind, and it carried off the locusts and blew them into the Red Sea. Not a single locust was left in all the territory of Egypt, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the Israelites go. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward heaven, and there will be a darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be felt. So, this kind of makes me think of, when you're younger, you're afraid of the dark, and being in a room that is completely dark by yourself, it just has this like feeling to it. That's kind of what this makes me think of. I don't know if that's exactly what is being said there, but imagine like it's probably not a pleasant thing to have a darkness that you can feel. Verse 22. So Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven, and there was thick darkness throughout the land of Egypt for 3 days. One person could not see another, and for 3 days they did not move from where they were. Yet all the Israelites had light where they lived. Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, go worship the Lord. Even your families may go with you. Only your flocks and herds must stay behind. Moses responded, you must also let us have sacrifices and burnt offerings to prepare for the Lord, our God. Even our livestock must go with us. Not a hoof will be left behind, because we will take some of them to worship the Lord our God. We will not know what we will use to worship the Lord until we get there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was unwilling to let them go. Pharaoh said to him, leave me. Make sure you never see my face again, for on the day you see my face, you will die. As you have said, Moses replied, I will never see your face again. I think something that is kind of important to look at too, this whole idea of God hardening Pharaoh's heart is, like I said, I see it as God moving things along in the order that he wants it to be and the timing he wants it to be in. And so, although it may seem like a mean or not nice or unfair thing to do, also think about it in a sense that by pushing Pharaoh along, he's escalating things much faster, and so there's maybe a lot less damage that actually happens to Egypt because of that, and a lot less death that happens to Egypt because of that. Now this is just that's my interpretation. It doesn't say that explicitly in text, but that could be something to look at too. So Exodus 11. The Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will drive you out of here. Now announce to the people that both men and women should ask their neighbors for silver and gold items. The Lord gave the people favor with the Egyptians. In addition, Moses himself was very highly regarded in the land of Egypt by Pharaoh's officials and the people. So Moses said, this is what the Lord says about midnight. I will go throughout Egypt, and every firstborn male in the land of Egypt will die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne to the firstborn of the servant girl who's at the grindstones, as well as every firstborn of the livestock. Then there will be a great cry of anguish through all the land of Egypt, such as never been heard before or ever will be again. But against all the Israelites, whether people or animals, not even a dog will snarl, so that you may know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. All these officials of yours will come down to me and bow before me, saying, get out, you and all the people who follow you. After that I will get out. And he went out from Pharaoh's presence fiercely angry. The Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not listen to the Israelites. He would not let the Israelites go out of his land. Okay, chapter 12. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month is to be the beginning of months for you. It is the first month of the year. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, they must each select an animal of the flock according to their father's families, one animal per family. If the household is too small for the whole animal, that person and the neighbor nearest his house are to select one based on the combined number of people. You should apportion the animal according to what each will eat. You must have an unblemished animal, a year-old male. You may take it from either the sheep or the goats. You are to keep it until the 14th day of this month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel will slaughter the animals at twilight. They must take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses where they eat them. They are to eat the meat that night. They should eat it. Oh, went way too far. They should eat it roasted over the fire, along with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or cooked in boiling water, but only roasted over fire. Its head, as well as its legs and inner organs, you must not leave any of it until morning. Any part of it left until morning you must burn. Here's how you must eat it. You must be dressed for travel, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You are to eat it in a hurry. It is the Lord's Passover. I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night and strike every firstborn male in the land of Egypt, both people and animals. I am the Lord. I will execute judgments against all the gods of Egypt. The blood on the houses where you are staying will be a distinguishing mark for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. No plague will be among you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day is to be a memorial for you, and you must celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. You are to celebrate it throughout your generation as a permanent statute. You must eat unleavened bread for 7 days. On the first day, you must remove yeast from your houses. Whoever eats what is leavened from the first day through the 7th day must be cut off from Israel. You are to hold a sacred assembly on the first day and another sacred assembly on the 7th day. No work may be done on those days except for preparing what people need to eat. You may do only that. You are to observe the festival of unleavened bread, because on this very day I brought your military divisions out of the land of Egypt. You must observe this day throughout your generations as a permanent statute. You are to eat unleavened bread in the first month, from the evening of the 14th day of the month until the evening of the 21st day of the month. Yeast must not be found in your houses for 7 days. If anyone eats something leavened, that person, whether a resident alien or native to the land, must be cut off from the community of Israel. Do not eat anything leavened. Eat unleavened bread in all your homes. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go select an animal from the flock according to your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Take a cluster of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and brush the lintel and the 2 doorposts with some of the blood in the basin. None of you may go out the door of his house until morning. When the Lord passes through to strike Egypt and sees the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, he will pass over the door and not let the destroyer into your houses to strike you. Keep this command permanently as a statute for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that the Lord will give you as he promised, you are to observe the ceremony. When your children ask you, What does the ceremony mean to you? You are to reply, It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord. For he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he struck the Egyptians, and he spared our homes. So the people knelt low and worshipped. Then the Israelites went and did this. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. Now at midnight the Lord struck every firstborn male in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon, and every firstborn of the livestock. During the night Pharaoh got up, he along with all his officials and the Egyptians, and there was a loud wailing throughout Egypt, because there wasn't a house without someone dead. He summoned Moses and Aaron during the night and said, Get out immediately, and from among my people, both you and the Israelites, and go. Worship the Lord as you have said. Take even your flocks and your herds as you have asked, and leave, and also bless me." Now the Egyptians pressured the people in order to send them quickly out of the country, for they said, "We're all going to die." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, with their kneading bowls wrapped up in their cloths on their shoulders. The Israelites acted on Moses' word and asked the Egyptians for silver and gold items for clothing. And the Lord gave the people such favor with the Egyptians that they gave them what they requested. In this way they plundered the Egyptians. The Israelites traveled from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 able-bodied men on foot, besides their families. A mixed crowd also went up with them, along with a huge number of livestock, both flocks and herds. The people baked the dough they had brought out of Egypt into unleavened loaves, since it had no yeast, for when they were driven out of Egypt, they could not delay, and had not prepared provisions for themselves. The time that the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, on that same day, all the Lord's military divisions went out from the land of Egypt. It was a night of vigil in honor of the Lord, because he would bring them out of the land of Egypt. The same night is in honor of the Lord, a night vigil for the Israelites throughout their generations. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the statute of the Passover. No foreigner may eat it, but any slave a man has purchased may eat it, after you have circumcised him. A temporary resident or hired worker may not eat the Passover. It is to be eaten in one house. You may not take any of the meat outside of the house. You may not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. If an alien resides among you and wants to observe the Lord's Passover, every male in his household must be circumcised. Then he may participate. He will become like a native of the land, but no uncircumcised person may eat it. The same law will apply to both the native and the alien who resides among you." Then all the Israelites did this. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. On that same day, the Lord brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, according to their military divisions. All right, that is done. I do have some questions to go over really quickly. Yeah. Just over what we've read, give you kind of an idea of some thoughts on it, maybe spark your mind to do more than just read it and walk away. Actually, like take something out of it. Question 1. How does the final plague serve as a pivotal moment in the story of the Exodus, and what does it reveal about God's justice and mercy? I think a big thing is that all the Israelites did was follow instructions. They didn't do anything to deserve the justice and mercy. But it's also reflective of what we see in Jesus as the only begotten Son, the firstborn male, if you will, and the sacrifice that was made there. Question 2. In what ways does the Passover symbolize God's protection in the concept of sacrifice? And how can we apply this to our understanding of salvation today? So again, I kind of touched on this already. This is about, it's a little bit of a reflection of Jesus and what we see there. And then even when Jesus does ultimately go to the cross, it's on around the time of Passover too. And so it's like a massive shadow there of that. But like I talked about with the salvation that we have today, it's unwarranted. We don't deserve it. There's nothing we can do to earn it. It was just given to us. All we have is instructions on accept Jesus, accept what he's done, and that's it. What lessons can we learn from the Israelites' obedience and following God's instructions for the Passover? And how does this relate to our own obedience and faith? Follow what God gives us to do. Sometimes things may not seem like they make a lot of sense. They may not seem like there's a purpose behind it, but it's not our job to understand every purpose. It's not our job to understand the process why. It's our job to be obedient and trust God And that's what it breaks down to. So appreciate watching, listening, all that fun stuff. If you watch through to this point, don't forget to like, subscribe, spread the word. Word of mouth is the best way that podcasts spread. So if this has been a blessing to you, please pass it along to someone else you think would benefit from it. There's some links in the description. If you're interested in the CSB Bible, I have a link to the CSB Apologetic Study Bible in there, which is the same Bible that I have. I actually have a video linked in there as well that goes over it and reviews like the reasons why I am so big on this CSB Apologetic Study Bible. So if those are of interest to you, you can find them in the description. If not, no worries, no big deal. I hope this has been a blessing to you, and until tomorrow, God bless.